Will we be able to recap a full day worth of baseball before Tuma is forced to go apple picking with the roommate against his will? We'll find out in the Thursday, September 23rd edition of Leading Off. Mr. Dan Harris is with us today, as has been the case lately. How are we this morning?
We're fine. Are we just going to gloss over how I completely saved the show today? Like, we're just like, you prepared your opening and you can't like alter it to explain to the masses who are here with us today how I completely saved the show.
I didn't realize you were the type that needed that sort of validation. I thought that was, as we discussed, more my generation's thing.
No, I think I'm basically your generation. I joke about me being old. I'm actually only 23. I realize that my wrinkles and my sagging eyes and my old man jokes might lead you to believe otherwise. But yes, you guys should know I am not a technologically advanced human. I'm just happy I can turn on my computer. And we had some issues here with the stream, and I saved it. So all of you here, Peanuts and Cracker Jacks, people are here and commenting. You guys should know this is all due to my, I'll call it creative genius and ability to save the show. So you're welcome. And it's a fantastic, I can do no wrong today. I can give out terrible advice, won't matter. It's all downhill from here for me.
To Dan's credit, we did almost not have the live stream today, and we were talking just minutes leading up to the show. So we just record it, release it as a regular podcast, but we are here. We made it. The Peanuts and the Cracker Jacks are saved. And we'll be able to get into all of the news from a busy Wednesday in Major League Baseball.
Let's do it.
We'll start with someone who might be as young as Dan Harris, and that's Juan Soto, who went 3 for 3 with a homer, a double, 2 walks, 3 RBIs, and 2 runs. Okay, I know football has started, so eyes are turned there. I know that the Nationals are out of it, but what Juan Soto is doing isn't being talked about enough. And I know that's a common thing we say. I know everyone still realizes he's great, but in the second half, Dan, it's 275 plate appearances. That's a huge sample. He's hitting 372 with a 538 on base percentage. In September, he has 10 extra base hits, 7 intentional walks, just 6 strikeouts. I know this is very good. We're just going to say, oh my God, he's amazing, but we need to talk about it even more. I think it's ridiculous.
He's amazing. Everything he does is good. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Like, he is incredible. He's doing it with just nothing in that lineup whatsoever. Bell is fine behind him, I guess, but what he's doing is incredible. I wonder, Tuma, I mean, if the Phillies don't make the playoffs, the Padres don't make the playoffs, is he potentially a guy who might win the MVP? What do you think?
I think it might. Calling it too little too late does it a disservice, because like it's been a lot lately. It's not like it's too little too late, but
Wonky knows.
I just think the fact, that the Nationals are just so out of it, and it's kind of happened under the radar that it won't be enough. But if he had done this over the course of a full season, then it would be enough despite the Nationals record.
Where will you pick him next year, Tuma? Out of curiosity, what do you think?
I think it's going to be really interesting at the top. We're going to have to look at if Fernando Tatis gets that surgery or not. There's a couple other factors. He's either first or second or third, depending on Ohtani's eligibility in your league and all that.
Right. You've got Ohtani. You've got Tatis Jr., who, if assuming that he has offseason shoulder surgery just because of the steals, like you'd probably have to think of that. Maybe Vladdy just because of the crazy power. But again, he's got 9 steals. He's missed a little time already this year. It's hard. He'll be top 3. I just wonder whether or not some people, Joe will take it. Joe took him number 1 this year, I think. So he'll be there. But Wonky, look up Soto's MVP odds right now to see, because might be a good hedge. Go ahead, Tuma. Sorry.
I think it might be one of those things where you don't necessarily need or want the number 1 pick, but you're happy as long as you have a top 4 pick or something like that. So we'll see. There's plenty of time to analyze that. But one final note on Soto, he joined Ted Williams as the only player aged 22 or younger to total 150 hits and 130 walks in a single season.
That's awesome.
Pickles, I think I know who Tuma is going to talk about. You are correct. It is a Joe Ryan day on the podcast. Joe Ryan against the Cubs on Wednesday, 5 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs, 11-1 strikeout to walk ratio. He put up 13 more whiffs. Again, that's in just 5 innings. Through 4 starts, Joe Ryan has a 25-3 K to walk. We were talking about that with Logan Gilbert the other day, that we really like that he limits the free passes. So I think that Joe Ryan has been great for fantasy managers down the stretch.
Yeah. I mean, you can't argue against it. He's been phenomenal. When you have a young kid who comes up like this and isn't overwhelmed by the moment, I think it's awesome. I think that he is somebody who, I mean, does he have 2 starts? He's got to have 2 starts left, right? At this point, Tuma? Yeah, I mean, you throw him out there for sure. Even though, again, he's much more like, he should be on the Orioles with the Joe Ryan name, right? Like, this is not a guy. But yeah, Tuma, honestly, I know when Joe Ryan pitches, there will be a text coming at like 9:30 right before Tuma goes to bed after a long Grey's Anatomy episode about Joe Ryan, and I got one yesterday. He's been awesome, and you were on him like you are on everybody who's under the age of 26. He's been fantastic.
We have some Soto reports here. Wonky says plus 2,800, currently 4th.
Yeah.
Muncie is plus 1,800, so Muncie must be 3rd.
Yeah, but Muncie is sort of falling off. All right, while we're talking, I'm gonna place a bet. I'm gonna hedge, guys, on Soto. Go ahead. Sorry.
You got to hedge on Soto, not Tatis?
Yeah, I'm gonna hedge on Soto because Tatis is like 1-1. Whatever. And I didn't bet that much on, but if you're going to have like a big, I don't think it's going to be Tatis, man. I actually think that, again, because it's a narrative award, and sorry that we're just talking about this, but again, it's September 23rd, because of the fact that it is so narrative based, I think there's just too much negativity about it. I've got Soto at plus 2,800 as well. Fernando Tatis Jr. is at plus 150 and falling. Harper is at minus 195. So it's probably going to be Harper. But if you throw down a small bet on Soto at plus 2,800, let's go, guys. Let's do it.
That's sports betting 101 for you. Make sure to tune into Dan Harris on the Betting Pros podcast if you're interested in NFL wagers.
Which Tuma produces, by the way, of course, because Tuma does everything, man. Tuma's a jack of all trades, crushes everything he touches.
My final up for the night was Kyle Schwarber, who went 3 for 4 with 2 homers, a double, a walk, 4 RBIs, and 4 runs scored as my Red Sox completed a 2-game sweep over Dan Harris's Mets. Now, Schwarber had been pretty cold for a little while. Like, he went on that crazy hot streak we saw over the middle of the summer, but he is one of those types, not as extreme as Gallo or Sano, but someone who heats up and cools down in a big way. But still, even despite the struggles, he's someone you start every time out.
Yeah, I mean, he's had an interesting season here. He, I'm just looking in September. Yeah, he's batting 262. He's got 3 home runs, so hasn't been like that great. But obviously, look, he's one of the streaky hitters that can get hot at any point. And for me, if I roster Schwarber, I'll just kind of leave him in my lineup and wait for the hot streak. I'm not, because you can't pick and choose when it's going to happen. It just kind of happens. So yeah, for the rest of the season, leave him in there.
On the other side of the Red Sox beatdown over the Mets, Taijuan Walker pitched just 2 innings, 6 hits, 6 earned runs. He had a 2.66 first half ERA, a 7.74 second half ERA. Not a ton of fantasy analysis there, but man, that got ugly quickly after he was a pretty strong streaming candidate for a lot of the first half.
Yeah, he just couldn't keep the ball in the yard. He's got a 14.7% home run to fly ball rate. That's just not gonna fly. He has allowed 26 home runs this year. That really became his bugaboo in the second half. And look, he ran out of gas, man. I mean, that again, we talked about it too. There are some guys who seemingly have survived, like Sandy Alcantara, who basically was like, I don't know, I'll up my innings by 130 and I'll get better as I go. But there are a lot of guys, I think, who just kind of ran out of gas. I think Walker was one of them.
Corey Kluber, 4 1/3 innings, 8 hits, 3 earned run, 4 strikeouts. He was good in his most recent start before this one, so he was a bit of a streaming candidate entering last night. It just never fully came together. There were moments for him this season. He obviously dealt with an injury. Maybe next year is, nowadays going to be just an extra year removed from all the injury problems he had, but it just never came together for Kluber this year.
Other than the fact that I'm not going to trust his health whatsoever. I do think that next year, yeah, he will be at least better this year, because I think taking so much time off of pitching and not pitching regularly, that's just going to affect you. So this is, at least he has pitched this year. Hopefully he ends the season healthy. But yeah, as of right now, I mean, I started him in this matchup in a league just because he was coming off a good start. It's against the Rangers. But yeah, realistically, like there's no reason to have him in your lineup.
I was getting a little reflective, just thinking back to March and April. And I think that's an important exercise. Fantasy baseball, it's so long. It's important to remember where we started with all this. It seems almost crazy in hindsight that Christian Yelich was a first round pick. He went 0 for 4 last night. He's now hitting just 244 with a 720 OPS. Is this a situation where you just write off this year, or do you have any hope for Yelich even moving forward?
I don't think you can write it off just because he came off a pretty down 2020. That I wrote off. And, you do this, if you guys play on the NFBC or you play in any of these leagues, you get the Kentucky Derby system where you get to pick your draft slot. And I usually am almost in TGFBI, for example, I almost always get like the last pick for whatever reason. Like I don't get it. This year I randomly got the first pick and I picked 9 because I wanted Yelich or Trey Turner or whoever fell there, but I had a top 9 and Yelich was in there. I don't know. I know Mayer obviously, rosters him. He's just been terrible. He's not hitting the ball hard. I want to look up one thing very quickly because this was an issue I had with him last year, which I thought could have been all right. So he has kind of corrected it here, which is last year he didn't swing. Like his swing percentage dropped to 34.6%. And I remember thinking, okay, he just got sort of overly patient and that's really what caused it. It's up to 41.3%. That's basically his career time. And he's just not making hard enough contact right now. And I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the back, maybe it's the chronic back issues, but this is nowhere close to a situation where I'm just going to write it off. Like he was a first rounder for me. Yeah, I think JP34 says he has to move down until you see the power come back. I agree. I mean, he's not going to be a top 3 rounder. I don't think like where I'm thinking about it. Like this is a guy who you'll take like and hope for your bounce back because I'll have the upside, but I can't imagine pulling the trigger until round 4, maybe round 5. I'm not writing it off at all.
Once the quotes started coming out, he had the back injury that flared up this season. He went on a rehab assignment. Looked like he was going to be out for a while. He came back quickly. That was a huge red flag to me. I just think the body is breaking down a bit. Like you said, like there's like JP34 said, there's not a ton of power. So I don't even honestly care about like the swing tendencies. I just don't think that he can do it right now. Maybe an off season of rest will help.
Yep.
Some news and notes. Shane Bieber is going to come back from his shoulder injury on Friday against the White Sox. If you're wondering why the Indians are even bothering with this, Bieber said that he wants to go into the offseason kind of feeling a bit normal and just knowing that he made it back healthy and everything. So it sounds like it should be like a regular length start, at least 5 innings type thing. So I don't know if you have Bieber, are you fine throwing him out there? And it sounds like he'll make another start next week too.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you've got Bieber right now. If you're desperate for a starter, that's fine. But I can't imagine he goes a ton of innings here, right, Tuma? Like, I imagine that he's just going to pitch a few innings just to get feeling right. But, I mean, whatever. He probably won't hurt you. You can do worse.
Yeah, I mentioned that it might be more of a normal start because then also Jack Flaherty is coming back on Friday. But the Cardinals have already said he is going to be on a very limited pitch count. It almost sounds like he's going to be used as an opener around 15 pitches for that start. So Jack Flaherty, if you have like a start limit or anything, it's not worth using Flaherty. It literally sounds like it's only going to be, 1 or 2 innings. So between the two of them, Bieber will be the one who it seems like will get a more traditional start.
I agree with you. It sounds like Flaherty is really going to pitch like an inning or 2 or something like that.
Shohei Ohtani's next pitching appearance will come Sunday against the Mariners, and that would line him up to face Seattle again in the Angels regular season finale. So we should get 2 more starts from Shohei Ohtani this season. Noah Syndergaard retired all 3 batters he faced in a rehab appearance for AAA Syracuse. He'll make 1 more appearance before rejoining the Mets bullpen for the final week of the season. As a Mets fan, I'm curious, what is your hope for Syndergaard? Do you hope to re-sign him this offseason?
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking with my Mets friends about that. I guess, first of all, you need pitching. If you're the Mets anyway, so you might as well. But I would like to ask you, and I'd like to ask the Peanuts and the Cracker Jacks, what sort of deal do you think Noah Syndergaard gets, considering he hasn't pitched now in 2 years? Is somebody out there going to go out and sign him to a long-term deal given all the injury history? Is he somebody who takes like a 1-year deal and tries to rebuild his value? Does he split the baby? What do you think?
I'd extend him the qualifying offer if I
Without a
was
doubt, without a doubt.
Yeah.
But I don't think he'll take it. Or do you think he would? Would he take a 1-year like 20 mil?
Yeah, I mean, it could make sense for both sides. He reestablishes his market value. The Mets aren't committed, to multiple years, and I kind of think teams should be more aggressive with the qualifying offer in general because you get that draft pick if the player doesn't accept it, obviously, and signs elsewhere. And I love draft picks.
You would just die for the draft picks. My guess is somebody's going to go out there, and I don't think somebody's going to sign him to like a 5-year deal, but I think it's going to be up to him whether or not he wants to take like a 3-year, $60 million deal or something like that, or whether or not he wants to try to rebuild his value. It's very hard with any pitcher, as you know, because it's, injury prone, just generally, and especially a guy like Thor. If you're asking me what I want, I love Thor. I was at the World Series game where he came in as a kid and won that game, so I have a soft spot for him. The upside is enormous. I would like them to re-sign him, but, do what you got to do.
Question in the chat about Yelich. How far? Like 5th roundish? I think it's going to be even lower. I kind of think it's going to be rounds like 7 through 10, but we will see on that.
I think he'll be earlier than that, just because I think that we know what the potential is. If it was like, if he comes into spring training, is like, my back feels great, like last year was weird, there'll be helium. So my guess is 5th, probably before Bell. I don't know before Bellinger, actually. I don't want to. Both these guys, it's going to be fascinating to me. Get to work on your 2022 rankings now so you can answer these questions.
So messy. Some pitching standouts. Chris Sale, 5 innings, 2 runs, 8 strikeouts. He threw a slider that literally hit Javier Baez in the foot, but he swung anyway. That's Javier Baez for you. Zach Wheeler, 6 innings, 1 run, 9 strikeouts against the Orioles. Ace doing ace-like stuff. Ian Anderson, 7 innings, 1 run, 8 strikeouts, 15 swinging strikes. I was thinking back to Ian Anderson's preseason expectations. He's at a 3.60 ERA, a 1.24 WHIP, 122 strikeouts in 122 and a third innings. Is this kind of what you expected? If you have Ian Anderson, are you disappointed at all?
No, I don't think I'm disappointed. I think this is probably in line with like the 50% expectations. Like this is basically what I thought he essentially could do. An ERA that's going to help you, but not win you your league, a whip that's probably not going to hurt you, and strikeouts. So, obviously the health was an issue and he missed time, but overall I feel pretty encouraged with what I've seen from Anderson this year. How about you?
I guess next year is that injury might have messed everything up. Who knows?
Correct.
But, so I think next year is the one I'd want to take a step forward. Like it's a pretty middling ERA. And if it's just going to be like a 9K per 9, then the ERAs, I think, got to be lower. And also like whip isn't something that we talk about enough probably as fantasy analysts, but
Right.
It's a bit of a high whip as well.
Well, I mean, I think, look, I don't think, did you expect him to come in with the 2 ERA that he had last year? Like, I think that was right. That was really the issue for me. I think if you were giving me, if I could have signed up for a 3.6 ERA coming in, maybe the whip was a little high, but I think if you could have gotten there and you would have been at, I mean, the strikeouts obviously could have been a little higher, but if you're giving me a strikeout inning and a 3.6 ERA and an okay whip, like, I would have signed up for that in the beginning of the season from Anderson because I think there were a lot of question marks and he largely answered them absent the injury concerns.
Go Cards wants us to talk about Miles Mikolas. Don't worry, we're getting to him. 7 innings, 2 runs, just 3 strikeouts, but the Cardinals didn't win their 11th in a row. They will have a winning record for the 14th consecutive season. Congrats to you. Go Cards. Mikolas is never the type of pitcher that I am going to be interested in fantasy. You apparently like the Tommy Edmonds of the world, so I don't know if Mikolas interests you.
No, it doesn't. He doesn't. No, I need strikeouts from my starter. So an oft-injured veteran pitcher like Mikolas who doesn't strike anybody out is not my cup of tea. But go good for the Cards as they, I hope they beat the Dodgers or whoever and win the World Series.
Final pitching standout, Josiah Gray, 6 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs, 8 strikeouts. He had been pretty bad entering this one, so there was no way to see this coming. So don't feel bad about not using him. This was the first game actually this season that he didn't allow a homer. It was also his first major league win. He totaled 20 whiffs overall, which is interesting, but this is just a sit back and evaluate for now for me.
Yep. I don't really care about him that much this season, despite the good start. But next season, Tuma, I imagine he will be a guy who most fantasy managers are targeting with good reason.
Yeah, definitely below like the McClanahan, Gilbert tier, but still in that mix of younger starters who could be interesting.
Yes.
And even the young ones need to make sure that they are grooming and using the correct trimmer. That's why you got to use the lawnmower 4.0 by Manscaped. The new multifunction on-off switch can engage a travel lock created for people who like to travel. The lawnmower 4.0 gives you the ability to turn the 4000K LED spotlight on and off where needed for a more precise shave. Leading off listeners can get 20% off and free shipping by using the code leading off at manscaped.com. Again, it's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com using the code leading off. That was my worst intro into the ad read in a while.
I'm very disappointed.
I didn't even want to give you the opportunity to respond before I acknowledge that.
So. That's fine. That's fine. Go ahead.
Some hitting standouts. Austin Riley is riding an 8-game hitting streak to close the season, and he hit his 31st homer. This feels like a missed opportunity. He was going up against the Diamondbacks. It would have been amazing if you had taken him in the home run call.
Yeah, that was a bad job by me, actually. I really should have. The problem is I don't want to root. Again, I have made it. I am in a final, and I'm going up against a guy who's a Braves fan, who drafted Riley, who drafted Albies, and who has Soler. And so it's just killing me a little bit. So I don't want to call the Riley home runs because I don't want to be rooting for it. But it was an obvious point. And somebody definitely called it last night, right? Or a couple of people called it last night. So
some more Cardinal standouts. Paul Goldschmidt, I just wanted to note that he's since August 15th, he's hitting 341, 419, 674. So, oftentimes these veterans go a bit overlooked, but Goldschmidt is aging like extremely gracefully.
Shout out to Joey P, who was on Goldschmidt and had him as a buy low. And I didn't really want to go. His StatCast data looked good. But yeah, in the end of the year, man, his numbers, I mean, he's 33, 289 right now, 27 homers, 12 steals. He's going to go 100. He's one of the bigger values that we saw this year in fantasy baseball. And he got off to a slow start, as you're sort of noting, because he's been crushing it basically in the second half. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot to really like. The walk rate isn't quite as high as it used to be, but he's not striking out. So yeah, I don't really see a reason to get off this train even going into next year.
Yeah, not a sexy pick back in March, but man,
Yep.
It did turn out to be a great value. And then another older hitter who has been good this season, Buster Posey, went 4 for 5 with 2 doubles and RBI, 3 runs scored. It's obviously been a resurgent season for him. He's hitting 306 with a 902 OPS, but it's just 18 homers and 49 RBIs. Those are just some low counting stats. And so the rate stats have been really strong, but he doesn't play all that much. I mean, you compare that to Salvador Perez, he almost has, 2.5 times the amount of RBIs as Posey. So that is just something to factor in as well with him.
Yeah, Posey's been fantastic. And again, the batting average is great, but I mean, that is why Posey is what he is. Not posed by Perez is what he is, because he plays every single day. And, Posey gets some time off and he battled a little bit of an injury. So he is, though, an outstanding season. And again, this is something where I think guys who either opted out last year or at least took some time off last year really benefited from it, because you've seen resurgences from these older players, especially catchers.
By the way, the Giants did beat the Padres again last night. The Padres are only 5 games ahead of the Rockies.
That's crazy. That's absolutely nuts. To be fair, I mean, the Rockies being 71 and 80, pretty impressive. I felt like I thought the Rockies were like, whatever their win total was, it was like, I don't know, high 60s. I was like, take the under because I didn't like what they are. So they've played a little better than expected, actually. But the fact that the Padres are basically a 500 team at this point and everyone hates each other, terrible.
Oh my God, the chat is talking about the ad read was real awkward. Go Cards.
They didn't like it too
awkward Tuma. No. This is really going to affect me. I'm going to turn it over for you for the home run leaderboard.
Yeah, you got to get out of here, Tuma, because the Beans and the Cracker Jacks are about to go crazy. Okay, yesterday, Go Cards and Randy both up to 33 homers. Go Cards got 2 home runs from Kyle Schwarber. Randy called Fernando Tatis Jr. Lawnmower Man 4.4 is up to 32. He also got 2 homers from Schwarber. Derek from Texas ACAC is up to 31. He also called Tatis. So this leaderboard right now is incredible. We're up to 1,219 homers. There was a lot yesterday. Joe is at 33, as is Randy and Go Cards. Dinger Dan and Lawnmower Man 4.4 are at 32. Helpless in Miami and Derek from Texas ACAC are at 31. Smalls and Turf Durgerson are at 30. D. Gordon Liddy at 29. Mayor at 28. Wonky at 26. Cat Fox and Clown Prince at 24. And JJ Tater at 23. This is a good transition, though, Tuma, to let you guys know that we are launching the touchdown calls contest. We won't have the same, oomph, I don't think, as a home run call, just because home runs are every day and we've got, 162 games to get to, actually, and more, really, because teams are off, obviously, so it's more than that. But we're going to be doing a touchdown calls. There's a channel right now in our Discord. We're going to be able to make touchdown calls. Can't use the same player twice is the only thing at running back, wide receiver, and tight end. We'll give away weekly prizes, swag to the store. You can get the leading off shirts. We'll give away season-long prizes. So again, check that out. It's going to be fun. But man, I cannot wait for the home run contest next year, Tuma. And you better participate, dude. I got none of this. I don't want it to be your jam. Like, oh, I don't know, just whatever. Like, you're going to be in it. You're going to be making home run calls every single day.
All right, it is written. That will happen then. DFS for tonight. Weird, small, 4-game slate, but it's 5 games if you play on DraftKings, and some of these pitchers are not overly enticing.
Yeah, but there's enough considering how small it is. I mean, Lance McCullers against the Angels and Alex Cobb, 10-2 on FanDuel, 10-1 on DK. A little bit of a discount now going to Aaron Nola, who, I mean, his price, Tuma, I know we always talk about Nola, but it is against Pittsburgh, 9,100 on FanDuel, 85 on DK. I will be playing him probably in all types of contests. Steven Matz, generally speaking, pretty solid up against the Twins, 8,000 on FanDuel, but 9,200 on DK, 700 more than Aaron Nola. Doesn't make sense to me. Now, Luis Castillo going up against the Nats. He is not there on FanDuel because they don't have that slate, but 8,900 on DraftKings. I think he's a fine option against the Nationals.
I am so going down with the ship on Aaron Nola and into 2022 as well. For game stacks, you can stick with the Phillies against Connor Overton of the Pirates. Okay, then who are some lineup builders for us?
Yeah, you're going to go with a couple of guys here. Brad Miller against Pittsburgh, just 2,300 on FanDuel, 38 on DK. Cedric Mullins, our guy against Not Real Human Glenn Otto, 3,400 on FanDuel, 4,300 on DK. Odubel Herrera against Overton from Pittsburgh as well, 2,500 on FanDuel, 4,100 on DraftKings. Josh Donaldson against Matz, going up against the lefty, 3,300 FanDuel, 4,300 on DraftKings. And Nick Solak against Baltimore, 2,800 on FanDuel and 3,000 on DraftKings.
Mullins is sitting at 29 homers and 30 stolen bases. So if he does get that homer tonight, it will be 30-30, which is just incredible. But who are you using for your call on Thursday?
Yeah, I originally was thinking of going with Yordan Alvarez, but I think he left last night's game with some soreness. And given that they probably have the division locked up, I'm going to pivot, but to another player in that game. I'm going to go with our guy, Kyle Tucker, who has been having a phenomenal season and who, because one league, I'm not really in it anymore, and he had left on Sunday with like shoulder discomfort. I had him on my bench because I figured he'd be out, and instead he is playing and playing very well. So I think he will twist the knife a little deeper, and he will hit a home run tonight. So Kyle Tucker is my call.
I still think, I know we talked a little bit about Tucker and Luis Robert yesterday. I said they might be undervalued. That maybe wasn't the right word. I just think that those guys both have like first round upside that might be going in the second or third round. So
I think the stolen base guys who don't, put on a ton of RBI and stuff like that, fantasy managers generally gravitate against them. But look, they're going to be second, third round players, and they should be. They're going to be awesome behind Ryan Mountcastle, of course, Mayor's guy. So,
all right, this is my cue to chill out a little bit about the 2022 rankings because there is still over a week in the MLB season. There are fantasy baseball championships to win. We want to help you do that. Again, tweet at Dan and Joe and Mike and I how you're doing. I really, really, really love hearing about that. And
great.
That's it. I got a apple picking to get to with the roommate against my will. But we'll be back tomorrow on Friday to get everyone ready for the weekend. And yeah, that's it. That's the show. Okay, I'm going to end the broadcast now.
That was very poor.